Welcome to History Love, where we explore the stories, people, and events that shaped our world. Let's dive into the past and uncover history's most fascinating moments. The 7 Days Battles, a clash for Richmond. The heat of June hung heavy over Virginia as two great armies stood poised on the edge of history. Union General George B. McClellan, fresh from his victories on the Yorktown Peninsula, was just miles from the Confederate capital, Richmond. He could almost taste victory. But Robert E. Lee, newly appointed commander of the Confederate Army, was not one to relinquish his homeland easily. What followed would be a brutal week of relentless clashes, a series of battles that would not only decide the fate of Richmond, but also the course of the war. The spark ignites, June 25, 1862. It began with a clash at Oak Grove on June 25th. A minor skirmish in the grand scheme of the war, but the first of many to come. The Union forces pushed forward with determination, but the battle was indecisive, a mere prelude to the storm that was about to engulf them. Lee strikes back, June 26, 1862. The next day, Lee, eager to seize the initiative, launched an attack at Mechanicsville, targeting the Union's right flank. But McClellan's men, battle-hardened and resolute, repelled the Confederate assault with heavy losses on both sides. The Confederacy had suffered a setback, but Lee was not deterred. He pressed on, determined to force the Union out of its advantageous position. A deadly convergence, June 27, 1862. On June 27th, the battlefield at Gaines's Mill would become a bloodbath. Lee's forces, joined by the legendary Stonewall Jackson, launched a devastating attack against General John Porter's V Corps. What ensued was a brutal, close-quarters clash of fire and steel. The Union forces, caught off guard, fought fiercely to hold their ground, but the Confederate tide could not be stopped. By the end of the day, Lee had dealt a crushing blow, driving the Union back and leaving a trail of fallen soldiers on both sides. The relentless pursuit, June 29th to 30th, 1862. Over the next days, the Union forces were in full retreat. At Peach Orchard and Savage's Station on June 29th, McClellan's men fought fiercely to slow the Confederate advance, inflicting heavy casualties on the pursuing Southerners. But it was a retreat nonetheless. The Union forces fought every inch of the way, determined to reach the safety of the James River. At Fraser's Farm, also known as Glendale, on June 30th, the fighting reached a fever pitch. Union and Confederate soldiers clashed in a desperate struggle for survival. The Union managed to hold off the Confederate forces, but at great cost. As the battle subsided, both sides were bloodied, exhausted, and on the move. The final stand, July 1st, 1862. By July 1st, McClellan's army had reached the James River. There, supported by Union gunboats, the Federal forces made their final stand at Malvern Hill. The Confederates, tired and stretched thin, launched a series of desperate assaults, but they were met with relentless Union fire. For the first time in the campaign, Lee's forces were decisively repulsed. The Confederates had suffered heavy casualties, and the Union Army had secured its position. A bitter retreat, the end of the campaign. Though Lee's forces had failed to capture McClellan's army, the retreat of the Union forces marked a significant moment in the war. McClellan, his chances of capturing Richmond dashed, withdrew his army to Harrison's Landing on the James River, ending the Peninsular Campaign in defeat. Lee's confidence surged, and the South had held its ground, but the price had been steep. Both sides had lost thousands of men. In the end, it was a moment of bittersweet victory for the Confederacy. Lee's strategy had successfully pushed back the Union, but McClellan's army was still intact, and the war would go on. The 7 Days Battles marked a turning point in the American Civil War, with the Union's failure to capture Richmond signaling the end of the Peninsular Campaign. Yet, both sides were deeply scarred, with casualties mounting into the tens of thousands, the cost of a war that was only beginning. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. If you love this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to History Love. Together, let's keep the love for history alive. See you in the next chapter.